hold on right there. We are living under a prayer that in 51 days, college football will finally be back. But we know we just can't wait that long to get you fixed. And that's where Mike Huguenin does a good job helping us out with Rivals.com following football and basketball. Mike Huguenin with us here on the Smith Enterprise Hotline. First of all, thank you so much for your time. Mike, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, you're more than welcome. We got to get started. I mean, you guys, like we said, you do a good job. But let's go as far as off the board here with all this X and O stuff. You did a good job coming up, arguably, with the quote of the summer so far from Colorado coach Dan Hawkins. I'm not going to steal your thunder. If you will, share that with us, Mike.
He was at I guess every year all the coaches, all the football coaches in Colorado, all the college coaches get together in a different city and talk to the media and stuff. And Hawkins has a very young team and likened them to a Labrador Retriever puppy, saying that they're fun to be around for the most part, but the upshot is sometimes they chew the furniture and pee on the rug. and he's right. I mean, this I think every coach nationally, they won't put it quite as colorful. But you got young players, and they are fun to be around. They do some good stuff, but they're also going to make mistakes that leave you wanting them to beat them, I guess is the way to put it. But no, Hawkins is a good guy, and he's fun to deal with.
Absolutely. Listen, Auburn is on fire when it comes to recruiting in this neck of the woods. They just picked up their 19th commitment. I mean, it's like, can you imagine somebody who followed this Auburn football program just as early as 5 years ago coming back and saying, what? They got 19 here just after July the 4th. What a summer for Tommy Tuberville and his staff.
Yeah, I know. In talking to the recruiting guys that we have, a lot of credit goes to James Willis, their linebacker coach, who's supposedly just doing a tremendous job. He's, I think he is responsible for 5 of the commitments from high school kids, plus 2 JUCO guys coming back, Freeman and I forget the other kid's name, but I think they signed with Auburn in the past and now are coming back. But I think, here's an example. Auburn's always recruited well under Tuberville. I think they are becoming more aggressive now in a reaction to how Saban and his staff operate. Saban is very aggressive in recruiting. I think Tuberville and his staff always have been, again, good recruiters. I think they're maybe changing up their modus operandi here. And, they want the early commitments now, and I'm pretty sure that most of these guys are going to stick. I think if you're an athlete in Alabama and choose either Auburn or Alabama, you're certainly not going to switch to the other school. You may switch to an out-of-state school, but at the same time, I think most of these guys are going to stick. And it's like Texas. Texas always has a bunch of early commitments. Those guys never waver.
No.
So I don't think these guys in Alabama or Auburn are going to waver either.
You mentioned in the state, the big 3 or 4 still on the board. In your opinion, Mike, where do you think those guys are going to wind up with their services?
I'm not a recruiting guy, an expert, but I know there's a couple linebackers in Alabama that Alabama wants. I think Alabama's going to get those guys. I know Georgia yesterday pulled an offer to an Alabama linebacker from Andalusia. I think Nico Johnson is his name. I think that means that Georgia already has 3 linebackers committed, and I think they're thinking, we already have 3. Do we want another one? If they want another one, it'll probably be the kid from Georgia, Jarvis Jones.
Gotcha.
So I think Nico Johnson now goes to Alabama. But for the other guys, I'm not really too sure. But again, I think if unlike last year when Florida came in and got Dee Finley out of Auburn High and William Green out of the Birmingham area, I think most of the top guys this year are going to be going to Alabama and Auburn.
Yeah. Mike, I've got to ask your reaction to Phil Fulmer's contract extension, 7 years, an average of $3 million a year, plus a ton of incentives. He's got a losing record against the top 5 coaches in the SEC, 14-12 in the last 26 games, and he lost by 63 points to his 2 biggest rivals last year. What reaction have you heard from within rivals and also some of the fans in Tennessee?
Yeah, the fans, we haven't heard much from the one thing that intrigues me is the contract includes a rollover clause that it kicks in if Tennessee wins 8 games.
8 games.
And in the SEC, going 8-4 every single year, it's good. It's going to get you to a bowl game. It's going to get you to a bowl game in Nashville maybe, or Memphis, or maybe Atlanta. But it's a little surprising to me. It was extended through 2014, $2.99 million a year. They haven't, this is not exactly a program that's tearing it up in terms of winning SEC championships. They did lose by 63 points two, arguably their two biggest rivals, Florida and Alabama last season. Yes, they beat Tennessee, and yes, they won the SEC East. But this is a program that people forget. Last year they got blown out by Florida early, 59-20. Started off 1-2 because they lost to UCLA. California last year early. Yeah. People were grumbling. Maybe it's time for him to go. Tennessee rebounds, wins the SEC East, and giving him a 7-year extension for that much money, and with a rollover that kicks in at 8 wins, seems to me a little too much. I mean, I think Fulmer's a good coach, but that's a phenomenal contract, and I don't think he deserves a phenomenal contract right now.
A fellow with a phenomenal contract, especially based on performance, is Charlie Weiss at Notre Dame. A lot of love this summer. A lot of folks saying, on the one hand, it's going to be much better. Number one, it's got to be better. There's only one direction to go. And the thing is, in your opinion, Mike, is that very surprising, especially when you look at their schedule? I mean, it's very favorable for Charlie Weiss to show major improvements this year, is it not?
Yeah, it is. We have them ranked 40th in our preseason poll, and we were like, man, this might be too high. Yeah. But then I think one magazine has them 19th. ESPN.com writer has them 25th, and the guy who wrote our preview for us said, this is a team that's going to be better. Right? They can't get worse, and the schedule is very easy. Yeah. They play 9 or 10 Big Six teams. Yeah. I think it's 10. At the same time, some of these Big Six teams aren't exactly powerhouses. So
Navy, Stanford, right. I mean, Syracuse.
It's going to be a team that should win 7 or 8 games, should go back to a bowl. That's just, if they struggle this year, I think all of Weiss's, all the Huzz's, and this guy's a great coach, those will end, because this is not a tough schedule, and Notre Dame better win 7 or 8 games this year.
Absolutely.
Mike, just a minute left with you. How in the world did Mike Price get Texas to literally agree to come to El Paso to play them this year? I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the games that I'm most intrigued by. Texas's first ever appearance in El Paso to play the Miners. I think it's a 2-for-1 deal. I have to admit I haven't done enough research on that, but that's a game that, Texas has fans in West Texas, no question, and you figure that there's going to be a ton of Texas fans in the stands, but that is a game that Texas has absolutely nothing to win and absolutely everything to lose. Yeah. It's like Mississippi State opens the season at Louisiana Tech. That's the first SEC team ever to play in Ruston. You got to give credit to Texas for going to UTEP. You got to give credit to Mississippi State for going to Louisiana Tech, but those games are nothing to gain games at all.
Absolutely. Mike, you do a great job, and hang on, buddy. 51 days, and we finally get her fixed. In the meantime, you do a good job covering both college football and basketball with Rivals.com. Keep up the good work, my friend. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
A little bit final note here. We just found out that as far as Mike Price, it was just their destiny.
I knew that was coming.
To go out and play.
I knew it was coming.
You'll try to explain that later,
That's right?
In the meantime, we come back, we're going to have the final word and more of Mama Show with Gene Shoebox. Stay with us.